I chose this one for obvious reasons. It's signed. I found this in a box of somebody's collection, and this was the agreement we made. So I'm going to move along because we're running out of time. Go ahead.
Our exhibition policy, the main focus is for us to think about our community responsibility and what that means with the artists that we invite to exhibit in our spaces. You get to, the conversation then turns to censorship, and so we're having a hard time towing that line between community responsibility and making sure that this is, the art that we bring in is representative of the community, reflects that community in a positive way, and censorship. So it's a fun conversation to have with artists.
The DMA is a standard art museum library. Of course, we require a certain caliber of exhibition to loan our objects to. I mean, there are a lot of things taken into consideration with a loan. Mainly, it's that the object is safe to travel, whether it's a short distance or a long distance, it's still traveling. Safe to exhibit. It hasn't, if it's work on paper, it hasn't been on view for a while, or the standard period of time. And also for the ability of the borrower to be able to safely and securely exhibit the work. The library and archives, we don't actually have a policy because we do very little lending, very little lending outside the library, but it would probably fall in line with our regular policies for our collections for lending a book to a scholar for research purposes, unless the exhibition was of such a length that it would take the item out of circulation, and if it was very unique, we might not allow that. So,
marketing. As I mentioned, we have a division who does all the marketing for the Dallas Public Library, 29 branches, every service, event, program, everything falls on our marketing team to push. For our exhibitions, we have these templates that we use that follow the City of Dallas guidelines for PR and the libraries as well. And this can be a challenge with artists who really want to create their own marketing material. They're really good at paint and all of these fun, fancy programs that create these great images, and they'll spend hours and hours and hours on it, and we can't use it because we have to stick within these guidelines.
and I just want to say the exhibition isn't over until you archive the materials and everything about the exhibition. The image that you see here is a case from an exhibition that took place in the hallway outside the library. It was to celebrate some maybe 15-year anniversary or so of the building being in place, the addition being built, excuse me, which was in 1993. And one thing to keep in mind, even though these images for this show were not really beautiful images, they were extremely functional. I know exactly what was in every case. I can trace it back to its source by what was there and by the label documentation. So even though I didn't get great exhibition installation images because they didn't take us too seriously for that one, it was therefore not down in the concourse, it was upstairs. We do have the text for every label. There were all of the notes taken while the exhibition was being planned. So even in things that were not selected, we have notes about those as well. And then functional photographs. So some kind of documentation. Believe me, you think you won't use it, or, oh, I'm in a hurry, I need to get on to the next project, but it's really, really important.
Just a few other things to consider for after the exhibit. Case storage. Where will you store your cases if you're not using them? We have a number of cases we all own, and outside of our state fair exhibit, we don't usually use a lot of them. So they're actually, you can see in the picture, lining all of our staff hallways down in the basement. On the other hand, this is great because we can also lend cases when we're not using a lot of them to other institutions in the park. Some other considerations, returning artifacts to storage. Will they fit back where they were before, after they've been mounted or used in an exhibit? I know Jackie has a great example of that.
Well, this just happens to be a letter that was loaned to an exhibition at a museum here in Texas. And before the exhibition, it was 5 sheets of paper in a file folder with interleaving in a nice Hollinger box on the shelf. And when it came back, it was in such nice mats that both protected the item as well as were reusable, that we went ahead and moved them to a larger flat file storage box. So they needed a completely different space on the shelf. I don't know where they are, but I'm sure they fit somewhere.
So all about the numbers. We've been talking about numbers throughout this whole presentation. We all deal with numbers in one form or fashion. And the one thing that we all agreed was that we wish meaningful numbers were just as impactful to administration or grant providers as the visitor clicky, this is how many people attended, because you can have an exhibition up on a very high traffic location, like on the way to the bathroom or something. Well, you're gonna have a lot of people go by that, but is it meaningful and impactful? Probably not. So those are the numbers that I think about all the time. If my exhibit touches one person and they have an experience, that means more than having 100,000 people see my exhibitions.
See if we can get this to play. This is just a time-lapse video showing the construction of one of our state fair exhibits, Texans in First World War. So you can kind of see as it goes what it takes to build in our great hall space and all of the efforts that have to be put in to kind of convert that space into an exhibit.
Any questions?
Comments, stories of your own.
Yes.
Quick question about your stew pot event. So, was there a call for art with the homeless community, and how did that, who's coordinating that?
Oh, sure. The Stew Pot has an art program of their own. And so, yeah, their residents are part of this voluntarily. And that's one of the big, positives of being part of that program is that they get to exhibit and they get to make a little bit of money. There are strict rules and policies that the Stew Pot has with who they can let in to exhibit and that kind of thing, be part of the Stew Pot art program. But they have their own art program and it's really strong.
Yes. You may have said, but what time of the year do you have your stew pot show?
I did not say. It's November through January, so around the holidays. Anybody else?
Anyone? Well, we want to thank you all for showing up this early in the morning on the Friday. We appreciate you attending. If you have any questions or you want to reach any of us, they'll be right here at the end of the PowerPoint. Hopefully, you'll be able to get your hands on it when TAM is over with. And feel free to contact any of us. And if you want to swing up here and share business cards, I am all for that too. Thank you.
If you all would please take a moment and fill out the evaluation on the session and bring it back to me, I would appreciate it.
Be kind.
Let Tam know what you thought of the program.
I'm lazy, I'll try to. It was good.
you doing this morning?
Better and better.
Better and better.
They have a rare book room, they have a lot of art. They're definitely knowledgeable on all three areas. And the objects are handled by collections, so the library and archives are working together as equal departments with me as the umbrella over the two, but we have a librarian and an archivist who are in charge of day-to-day operations and reports to me. I currently refer to it as director of education, but that's just as the new director. Before that,
And then they say they don't have that. We don't have that. We don't have it.
Just tell me what you have.
Are you going to join us at the front?
I'm monitor for the last session. I'm waiting on some surveys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. But I feel like you know why you actually. I think that maybe you know.
Thank you so much.
Settled. I was thinking about doing Jack and George, even though George is still alive. That seems like a good one to do. And then I don't know, John Thomas or how about doing like Bruce Monroe? You know, a lot of Bruce. I think Bruce still stuff.